Welcome to Real Health with me, Karl Henry. Folks, did you know a sleep study of 1,000 Irish adults found that 78% reported poor or inadequate sleep? Well, today on Real Health, we are joined by Motty Varghese, a respiratory and sleep physiologist. In the episode, we're going to explore why sleep is so essential to physical and mental health, how it affects memory, weight, decision-making, the real impact of phones and stress on our sleep, and the practical habits that can help people finally wake up feeling rested. Motty, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
So, how's your sleep? Before we get into
Mine isn't too bad.
relations?
Mine isn't too bad. Yeah, I get sufficient quantity of, and I'll try to keep the good quality as well. So watch my habits and my beliefs around sleep, which actually helps.
Sleep, it's the first thing that's affected by our busy kind of lives, isn't it? Like it's when we get busy, we get stressed. Sleep is often one of the first thing to be affected.
Yes, and we are also poor in prioritizing sleep. When we get busy, the first thing to sacrifice will be, for the extra hour or two, it'll be our sleep. I would agree with that. So the sleep is the first thing to get affected, because any stress that we have in our life or any anxiety levels that we have, we become hyper vigilant or hyper alert, and that affects our ability to sometimes fall asleep, fall back asleep, or sometimes cause multiple awakenings at night as well, although there are several other reasons for multiple awakenings. So it is something to be careful about.
And were you surprised that about the 78% reporting poor sleep? Did that come as a surprise to you?
It is a huge number. It is a large percentage of people complaining about sleep difficulties, but that also includes environmental sleep problems. Light levels, noise levels, device usage, and also other organic sleep disorders or symptoms of other sleep disorders like insomnia or sleep apnea, for example, snoring and stopping breathing. So it's still a large percentage of people reporting sleep difficulties, and again points to the fact that we should pay more attention to our public sleep health overall.
Because people, they often look at I call it the sexy stuff. They look at the exercise and they look at the food and
Absolutely.
they look at, but they rarely actually start with the most important pillar, which is sleep health.
I think it should be a triad: sleep, diet, exercise, diet, and sleep. Not in a particular order, but as you rightly mentioned, there isn't a focus on exercise and eating healthy as well, but not so much focus on sleep. I think it is time that we should start focusing on our sleep as well, because sleep determines our ability to exercise during the day or our food habits as well. That changes when we are not sleeping well. Sometimes we'll be craving for food when we are sleep deprived, or our metabolic rate is slow, or we feel tired that we don't want to exercise. So it should be a triad.
How do people know if they're not sleeping well? How do they know if they're tired? Bar the obvious, I'm tired. But I think we're all kind of wrecked and tired most of the time.
I mean, sometimes to do with the weather as well. But I think we should look at, are we able to sleep at least 85% of the time that we are spending in bed? So between lights off and lights on. That's our sleep opportunity. And if you're able to maintain at least 85% of sleep, to sleep 85% of the time in bed, I think we're doing okay. And then we have to look at, so that's good sleep efficiency.
So say if we're recommending 8 hours, we'll chat about the 8 hours a bit later on, but we're saying kind of 7 to 7.5 hours.
7 to 7.5 hours of sleep. Exactly, yeah. But if you have difficulty falling asleep, that will results in reduced quantity of sleep and therefore results in reduced efficiency of sleep. Then we have to look at the number of awakenings that we have during the night. Multiple awakenings, it's going to make us feel tired because we don't get sufficient time to spend in all different refreshing stages of sleep. So that is to be considered as well. Yeah.
And chat to me about sleep trackers. What's your take on sleep trackers?
Yes, we never used to have these devices until a few years ago. I think it is okay to, if you are not too aware or too conscious or too anxious about your sleep, you can just keep it on, look at the numbers. But if you have a tendency to perfect things, perfect your sleep, and if you're analyzing it or if you're over-analyzing it, and if you're becoming anxious about your sleep, then it's best not to.
Because people become obsessed with it, like the body battery scores and the rest scores. And
exactly, yeah. But sometimes it is useful as well if you're in a safety critical industry and if you want to see how you're sleeping, how your alertness levels are, depending on how accurate it is as well. then it is useful in certain situations. Or if you want to compare how people in Dublin sleep to how people in Cork sleep or how the rural Ireland sleeps, it's useful in those sort of epidemiological studies to compare the data in which we can't do, but maybe the manufacturers or the companies can do that. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Chat to me then about, okay, so 78% of our listeners and viewers are sleep deprived or are not sleeping properly. Let's begin to talk them through how to improve that. So light is very important and dark is very important.
Yes, so our bedroom should be as dark as we can keep it, as quiet as it can be, and as cool as it can be. There is individual comfort levels there.
Chat to me about that now. I love that.
The temperature?
Temperature, because you'll have people all over the country. I'm sure there's couples having rows left, right and centre about bedroom temperatures.
Yes, so the recommended sleep, the bedroom temperature is about 16 to 18 degrees.
Wow.
I think there is a difference between individuals as well, depending on how comfortable they want to be. Some people like colder bedroom than warmer bedroom, and vice versa as well. I think it is a major problem in the summer, not so much in the winter. We can keep ourselves warmer in the winter with the extra duvet or so. But in the summer, I think we need to consider, we have two sleep environment. One is the immediate sleep environment, which is under the duvet, and then the largest sleep environment, which is the bedroom. Mm-hmm. So our body is trying to release heat to cool ourselves down. So when we have the duvet or the sheet, and when the heat is released from the body, it stays under the duvet, and it gets warmer and warmer, and it just gets more and more uncomfortable. So if people are looking into changing their mattress or getting a new mattress, they should look at something that allows air circulation.
Oh yeah, okay, breathable.
So, the breathable mattress actually, so that the air isn't stagnant and it's not getting warmer and warmer. And on summer days, very hot summer days, you can keep the windows closed and the blinds drawn and the curtains drawn during the day, and open them in the evening and aerate them once the outside temperature has dropped. Electric
blankets, yes or no?
If it helps, why not? But just be mindful of how warm it can. Just calibrate the temperature to the correct level. Yeah.
But generally, we're saying cooler the better from a health perspective.
Cooler is advisable.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And dark as possible, which is good.
Yeah.
Any other environmental kind of bedroom?
Yes, we have to. The mattress and the pillow and the cushions has to be comfortable, that we're not kind of developing body aches and pains.
Do you know? This is like sleep therapy. I changed my pillow about 6 months ago.
Okay.
And about I'd say 6, 7, 8 days later, I started to develop neck pain.
Okay.
And actually tingling finger sensations.
Right. Yeah.
And I copped that I changed I linked the two together.
Yes.
Back to the old pillow.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
Problem solved. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I never thought about it until I'm now that age, at the ripe old age of 44, where pillow height is actually really impactful on my. It was so impactful on my physical health.
Yes, it may have been straining a muscle or somewhere and pulling a nerve, causing those problems.
And I measured them side by side, and the new one was a good chunk. It was a good maybe half inch more higher than the old one.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So pillow health is important. Choosing the right pillow is crucial. Choosing the right mattress is crucial as well.
Yeah.
And for people who are listening in who do wake up several times during the night.
Yes. So that we can divide them into three major categories of reasons. One is the environmental factors. Not dark enough, not quiet enough, the temperature isn't right, the mattress isn't comfortable. Then there are physiological factors. If a person has a tendency to snore and snore heavily, or if they have a tendency to stop breathing when they're sleeping, like we see in sleep apnea, or if they have restless legs, they have a tendency to keep their legs moving, or upset stomach or body pain, all of them are physiological factors that can cause awakenings. Then there are psychological factors, any anxiety, stress, perfectionist tendencies, which, we keep ourselves at a state of hyper alertness or hyper vigilance. And then we are hyper aroused. There are chances that we wake up too many times at night. And that affects the quality of sleep, because you may be just going to drifting from stage 2 sleep, where we spend about 45%, to stage 3, very deep, refreshing sleep. And then you get an awakening, and then you're not progressing to stage 3. You're back to stage 2, and then you're taking more time then again to progress to stage 3. So that affects the quality of sleep, where we have numerous arousals, causing lots of excessive daytime sleepiness and tiredness during the day.
Talk me through the stages of sleep.
Yeah,
You mentioned them a couple of times now. It's really
yeah,
interesting.
sleep happens in cycles.
Yeah.
So we get 5 or 6 of those cycles. Each of them can be 90 to 120 minutes long.
And of course, any parents will know those cycles from babies and
From
baby sleep training.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And each cycle consists of different stages of sleep. So we have stage 1, 2, and 3, which we together called non-REM sleep. Stage 1, we spend about 5% in stage 1, just the transition from being awake to sleep. And stage 2 will be about 40 to 45%, and stage 3 about another 20 to 25%. And then we have the REM sleep, which is the rapid eye movement dream stage of sleep, which is another 20 to 25%. So the stage 2, we don't have to worry about it. We will get sufficient time, even at the expense of stage 3 and REM sleep. So stage 3 happens mostly in the first half of the night, and it's the most physically refreshing sleep.
Okay.
Right. So if you exercise a lot, if you train, play a sport, do manual job, we need a lot of stage 3 because we produce good amount of growth hormones, which helps the repair and rejuvenation of the body. The stage 3 on stage REM, on the other hand, happens mostly in the second half of the night, and it's the most mentally refreshing sleep. So if we woke up in the morning and felt very rested and de-stressed, it's because we had enough time in REM sleep.
Okay.
Yeah. So that happens in cycles as well.
And is there a way to accelerate getting into those sleep stages, or?
Yeah, so I think if we can look at the quality of sleep,
Okay.
then we can, we can ensure that we will have enough time in stage 3 and REM sleep as well.
Now, the modern day dilemma: digital distractions.
Yes, bigger problem, right? So there is passive devices like TV. It's at a distance. It doesn't have a huge effect on us. You're basically watching someone else's life,
Yep.
unless you're watching news or other documentaries and stuff. So that's not too bad. But I think it's the more interactive devices, the handheld devices like the phone, or an iPad or a computer that we use closer to our bedtime. The brighter the light, it has an impact on us. But it's not as simple as that. It also depends on how much light we are getting exposed to during the daytime. Some of the studies states that if we have enough natural light exposure during the daytime, then the light at night, which we call the LAN, doesn't have a significant effect on us.
Okay.
So that matters as well. But unfortunately, most of us are indoors during the day with very little time spent outdoors, especially in our weather. So something to be careful about. And also the content that we are browsing on, it can stimulate our brain as well, bringing us to a state of hypervigilance, affecting the quality of sleep, and sometimes difficulty getting to sleep or getting back to sleep as well.
And is there a amount of time before bed that you shouldn't be looking at digital content?
Generally 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, that's quite a long time, right?
You've now scared all of our listeners, all of them, myself included.
Yeah, but you can still watch TV.
Okay, so TV is like the best, like it's like the gold star. Watch because it's further away.
It is further away, and it's not interactive, so less problems. 2 hours is a long time. Yeah. Well, I think if you can leave it for at least an hour,
Okay.
and maybe spend reading a book for the last hour, a physical book or even a digital
A Kindle or whatever.
a Kindle or whatever, at a low light levels. I think it is okay.
Folks, if you're listening, I challenge that. I challenge you that, and let me know how you get on. But take 1 or 2 hours of a social media break before you go to sleep over the course of the next week. A, see if you can do it, because it'd be amazing if you can. And B, let me know the benefits of that. Our team here on Real Health are now, I'm signing them all up for a 2 hour no social media before bedtime over the next few weeks, and see how they get on. Talk to me about diet then, diet and food factors.
Yes, food. I think the timing of food is important as well. Try not to eat too close to your bedtime, because we are trying to reduce the body temperature. If the core body temperature is lower, it facilitates sleep. So if you're eating too close to your bedtime with digestion, the body temperature is going to pick up, it's going to go higher, and that's not helpful to our sleep. So have an earlier meal time around 6 to 7 or 7:30 at the latest. And if you're having a snack, try not to have anything closer to your bedtime again. Maybe no food for the last 2 hours before your bedtime. And also focus on regular meal times during the day. More importantly, the cooler body temperature promotes sleep. So if you eat too close to your bedtime, if you exercise too close to your bedtime, or if you take a hot shower in the last couple of hours, that pushes our body temperature up. Now, there can be some individual variability with the exercise and also the hot shower, but generally, these are general rules, right? But individuals can observe how their own body respond to these things.
And of course, caffeine is a big one.
Yes, again, the advice is 6 to 8 hours, but there is, again, individual variability. Some of us metabolize caffeine pretty quickly, but someone else may take a little bit longer. But if you do have sleep difficulty, leave it for 6 to 8 hours. It's not the magic bullet, but when you're trying to solve a problem, you try to do everything.
Talk to me about insomnia.
Yeah.
And particularly in women. They're more highly affected than men, aren't they?
More in women, actually. Yeah. So it's a difficulty falling asleep or a difficulty returning to sleep when you wake up at night. Or sometimes it can be an early morning awakening. So if any of it takes 30 minutes or longer, falling asleep and falling back asleep, and if that's happening 3 nights a week, a minimum of 3 nights a week, we can call that insomnia.
Wow.
The development of insomnia is what we call a 3P model. The first P stands for a predisposed person. Women, unfortunately, have higher chances of developing insomnia. People with anxious tendencies, people who stress a lot, people who maintain high standards or perfectionists have higher chances of developing sleep problems. But still, everything is fine until you have a precipitating factor. In most cases, people are able to say, oh, this started when my first baby was born, or when I was preparing for a job interview. A lot of people in their 20s would say that, oh, it started when I was doing my leaving cert. Quite a stressful time, and you get a few poor nights' sleep at the very beginning. You're not worried about sleep then. You're more worried about the precipitating factor. But in about a couple of weeks, you realize that, oh, I'm not sleeping well. Then you start to worry about sleep itself, where they will have thoughts like, will I sleep tonight? What if I don't? How will I manage my day tomorrow? And those are the perpetuating factors, the anxious thoughts about poor sleep. And then that results in hypervigilance and hyperalertness, resulting in longer time to fall asleep or fall back asleep.
Sleep tablets.
Sleep medications. Oh, okay. Not qualified enough to comment on it.
Oh, that's okay. Well,
yeah.
There is a prevalence of them, isn't there, and a kind of a reliance on them for people.
Sometimes when people are using it for a very long time, they can kind of develop a dependence on it. Something to be careful about. But we do have other ways to manage insomnia. For instance, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia is the most recommended and the most successful non-pharmacological or non-medication way to treat insomnia. By looking at your behaviors associated with sleep and also by looking at your beliefs to do with sleep. Right. So, but again, if you are really struggling with sleep, and if medication is I think we should prioritize sleep, and medication is not. We can use that as a short-term method to solve the problem, to get the sleep that we need. It is useful in those situations, but we should try and avoid it as much as we can.
And anything else in the sleep study that was interesting?
Yeah, the sleep study was actually done by Nitol, one of the pharmaceutical companies. And the most important one was that the 78% of the people reporting at least one of the sleep difficulties. About 50%, if my memory is right, about 50% is getting over 7 hours of sleep.
Oh, well.
Which is the recommended sleep duration. And there was a small percentage not reaching the recommended sleep duration. So, yeah, that is to be...
And of course, the 8 hours is kind of is person dependent, isn't it?
Yeah, there's nothing like 8 hours, right? So when we talk to people about insomnia, there are dysfunctional beliefs or unhelpful beliefs that people maintain.
Yeah.
For example, one of the beliefs is that I must sleep 8 hours each night.
Yeah.
And when they're not getting 8 hours, they become more anxious and stressed about it. So the recommended sleep duration by the American Academy of Sleep Medicine and also the National Sleep Foundation in the US is over 7 hours. Or 7 to 9 hours.
Okay.
But I think more importantly, there is a not recommended sleep duration, which is under 6 hours.
Okay.
So there is still a grace period of, between 6 and 7 hours.
Yeah.
But I think wherever possible, we should try and achieve the over 7 hours. Now, again, every individual has their own unique sleep need. For me, it can be 8.5 hours. for you, it could be different to that. So we just have to observe, when do we feel most rested and refreshed after how many hours of sleep. That's basically our sleep need.
And of course, that idea of having the lie-in to catch up,
Yeah,
not a great idea.
not a great idea actually, because I think we should prioritize our sleep every single night. Now that's ideal, right? So we shouldn't have a distinction between weekdays and weekends. What usually happens is we sleep poorly at the weekdays and catch up at the weekends. And one of the factors that determines our ability to sleep is our sleep drive, or our sleepiness, or our appetite for sleep, which is determined by the number of wake hours we have between waking up and going to bed. The longer you go without sleep, the sleepier you become, right? So, yep. So waking up at 7:30 will give you enough wake period, whereas waking up at 10 won't give you enough wake period on a Saturday, and then you struggle with it on Saturday night and then Sunday
You get into
night.
a pattern, in a rhythm.
Yeah. It is like feeling hungry for food.
Yeah.
We should have a sufficiently long break between the two meals to feel hungry and to feel sleepy as well.
Amazing. Well, hopefully we've motivated and improved the sleep patterns of some of our listeners. They have a lovely challenge over the course of the next week or so.
I hope so,
with regards to social media. And thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate it. Folks, that is it for another episode of Real Health with me, Karl Henry. Let's focus on our sleep this week and improve it. As ever, you know where we are, at Karl Henry PT on Instagram, realhealth@independent.ie, and on the Irish Independent website. If you like what you heard, don't forget to rate and review, and we'll see you next week. Slán go fóill.